All right, here we are, another live stream. Glad everyone's here. We're gonna do, as always, I'll bullshit a little bit while people trickle in to the chat. Yeah, today we've got Joan Pope, who I'm totally very psyched about talking with. I've known Joan for maybe like just a year or so, maybe even less. Yeah, I met Joan online through Twitter, the cultural pool, not a cesspool, hopefully I don't know, a pool of champagne. I don't know. Yeah, I became yeah. Joan is a visual artist, a video artist, and a musician, electronic musician. She makes work under the name musical work under the name Temple of Saturn, and yeah, and her own work is involved with a movement or orientation, which we'll talk about. We'll hear what it's all about, called Sex, Death, Rebirth. And yeah, I just I became aware of Joan just from her yeah, from her tweets and retweets, and just like I noticed we had a lot of followers and followed people in common through the sort of philosophy and theory world and through the music world. And then I saw she had done some amazing videos for musicians with whom I was familiar and I enjoyed. So yeah, so I hit her up to do the video for the last Psalm Zero single, which was "The Last Faith," and she did an amazing job. Hopefully, you guys have seen that video. And yeah, I just want to talk to Joan about just history, future, thoughts, everything everything that we talk about on here. Let's see who we've got. No one's really in the chat yet, but we will yeah, let's just maybe we can just get right into it. I'm gonna add Joan in here. Actually, I'm gonna take a sip of my espresso. This is like my signature thing on this channel, which is perhaps a little goofball, but I do love espresso and I love this cup, so I'm gonna make that my thing. A little caffeine action. We're all right. Here's Joan. What's up,
Hey.
Joan? Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on board. I'm pumped. Let's see what I don't know. How's quarantine treating you? How's life out in you're in Jersey, right? Still?
In Rockland County,
Rockland
so
County, yeah.
it's New York State, but it's on the border of New Jersey.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, to be honest, my life is almost exactly the same as it was before because I've always been very adamant about working at home because I feel so stressed by traveling, even like a 10-minute car ride, like really like it like has caused so much fucking like pain in my life. Like it's just been like I would have a job that was like, half hour away, and commuting would be like so stressful, but that by the time I got to my job, I'd be exhausted. I was just like,
Yeah.
I can't live like this. So that's why I picked up video editing. So I was like, this is a job that I can just do from home.
Hell
And
yeah.
I can
Yeah.
avoid all of that anxiety. And so I've been working from home like way before everyone else,
Yeah.
started doing it. And I also like, if I can't like walk there, I kind of don't go anywhere. Like I order all my stuff online. I shop online. Like
Uh-huh.
I'm like a real fucking hermit. Like the only
Yeah.
times that I go out is to just like be alone in the woods somewhere. So
That's not surprising. That's not surprising that you definitely spend time in the woods. I mean, yeah, 'cause, yeah, judging by your work, just the aesthetic, it's like not um it could be it doesn't have a distinctly East Coast style, Jersey, tri-state, New York. It could be anywhere. Doesn't always engage trees and nature and mountains or anything directly, but it's can imagine you being out in nature.
I mean, I think that nature is like almost the driving force, even if it's not like nature in terms of like wilderness or the trees. Like I'm just interested in the natural world, even if that just means like my body as like part of nature, or like the food I eat, like that's part of nature. So I feel very guided by nature and everything that I do. But yeah, I don't know. The only times that I really go outside is to be outside, like to just by myself in solitude, or me and my husband, and that's my life. And it's actually it's weird because people that weren't really interested in going outside when it was the only thing that you could do, trails that I have hiked for years, where I could hike there all day and not see another person, packed, just totally packed. And I was just like, oh my God, like this fucking sucks. But I do know that like there's some spots where like no one's there because there's no Instagrammable moment there. Like if there's no waterfall or like epic summit, like they're not there. Like I sometimes, I'll check like all trails or like blogs or whatever, just to see like trail conditions, if things have changed or if there's any like new information. And I see people like write reviews. They're like, yeah, this trail, it's just boring woods. Won't be coming back here. And I was just like, it's never boring. Like you're missing the point.
You're like, it's boring. Like Yelp reviewing like a fucking toad or like a piece of moss. You're like, I didn't appreciate that hummingbird.
I was just like, I'm sorry that there was no like cool moment for you to take your Instagram to be like, yeah, this is me on the top of a mountain. It's just like you didn't enjoy the journey, like you just don't understand. Like there's a trail that my husband and I really like, and it's like, I don't know. It's not that long. It's maybe like 5 miles to get to this like amazing waterfall. But on the way there, there's these really interesting, like weird, like mini trees. And it's like this really geologically like unique place. And we were like hiking back from the waterfall, and we see this like woman, and she's like, how far and how much longer until the waterfall? And I'm like, who the fuck cares? Like, just like you get there when you get there. Like, how do you not look around you and see that this is really awesome? Like,
There's still this grasping for this specific goal that is like the point, supposedly, and no whatever gratitude along the way, or
And like that day especially, it was the end of April and it was snowing, so it was just like that was like weird, and I was like, aren't you kind of like fascinated that there's like we're stuck in this like weird snow squall? Like
yeah, that certainly ain't happening out here, like fucking snow in spring. But so it sounds like nature is like, it's not just about nature, it's about not people being it's right. I mean, it's sort of relative solitude, or
yeah, if there's a lot of people, I won't go. Like I'll just if I get to a trailhead and there's a bunch of cars, just like I'll just find somewhere else. Because it is about solitude, because it is like, it's like meditation and exercise and just like peace of mind, like all rolled into one. Like if there's other people there, I get pulled out of that. And I don't mind like sharing nature with everybody. I hope that other people enjoy it, but it's like, I don't like feeling like I'm in an amusement park.
Yeah.
Last summer we went to Niagara Falls. I actually lived in Buffalo for a little while, and when I lived there, I had never seen Niagara Falls. Like I just like never made it over to the falls, which is just very close to Buffalo.
Yeah, I've never been. Yeah.
So last summer we were visiting Buffalo, and I was like, okay, we gotta like go see the falls, because I've been everywhere else in New York State, and I just like never went to this one really famous spot. And we get there, and it's just like, fuck this. Like, there's a Hard Rock Cafe like right there. Like, this is not cool. Like, there's better waterfalls. Like, because it's just like, I don't care that it's like these big falls. Like, it doesn't really matter. It's just like, it would be cool if I hiked like 10 miles and then came upon this and there was no one there. But it's
Yeah.
just like, there's like hundreds of people here. It sucks.
Yeah,
Like,
it's more about stillness, right, than about
yeah.
being like impressed by what nature's pyrotechnic, yeah, entertainment or whatever. Yeah, 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 yeah. Because I saw like I've seen in your yeah, not just in your work, but in your like artist statement and bio, like definitely mentions nature, for sure. Yeah, like yeah, the. But yeah, there's also this like outer space vibe though to a lot of your stuff, right? I mean, although that's
Well,
not nature, you know.
yeah, like
It's,
that's the thing. I feel like sometimes people miss that. Like, space is nature. Like, it's this natural thing, but it's like this whole other side of the natural world that's, like a new frontier, maybe. Like, I'm not like really that interested in space travel. Like, I kind of like that it's just this untouched thing. Like, I know it's like we're on the verge of like changing that, and it's gonna change eventually. Like,
yeah,
people
that,
people are
yeah,
people are gonna explore space. Personally, I don't feel like I need to like be on a spaceship in my lifetime. Like, I'm good.
yeah,
I like the Earth a lot, and I'm
yeah,
happy to
yeah.
stay here.
Yeah. Well, that's,
Um,
you're thinking of space as nature and a frontier. Once we start treating it like a frontier, the more we go out there, the less it's going to be quote unquote nature. We're going to make it
oh,
not nature
people
by
are just gonna fuck it up. They're gonna ruin it. Like,
yeah.
look what they did on the Earth. Like, it's
Yeah, yeah.
fucking destroyed. Like, I kind of hope that like Mars becomes a thing, because I'm like, all these people that like throw their mask on the ground. Like, please get in the fucking spaceship and go to Mars and stay there and like litter that shit up, because you have to live
Yeah.
you're gonna have to live very artificially there anyways, because you're not gonna be able to just like breathe out on Mars. So like, go live in a fucking pod on Mars and like
Yeah,
let
well,
me.
it'll be a Hard Rock Cafe, and like Elon Musk will like regulate how much oxygen you get, based on whatever. Like,
Oh my god. Well,
so,
I feel like we're like not that far away from like,
yeah, 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 yeah. Nature. I gotta be honest.
charging for air. Like,
Yeah,
fuck.
yeah. I don't keep up on like the on space, but yeah, I view it the same way you do. It's like fascinating and daunting, but it's not. Yeah, I'm not all about. Well, I'm not about progress necessarily, and I know you're not like. That's the thing. Yeah, you're dealing with space and your aesthetics, but I know you're kind of like not into the modern world, which can mean a lot of. Well, maybe I'm oversimplifying, like
No,
putting words in your mouth,
I mean,
but
I think that's pretty accurate. Like, I mean, I would like to go back. Like, I feel like human beings did better as like nomadic tribes. Like, I think we did better as a species. Like, we were happier. Maybe it was fucking harder, but I think that we just lived more meaningful lives when we lived closer to the earth. Now we're just very disconnected and no one's happy. Everyone's on fucking drugs. Like, no one can get through the goddamn day. Like, it's really weird.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. I
see
mean, yeah,
space as like, I like it as like a fantasy. Like, it's opening, like, it's like the imagination of like what the possibilities are, and I like it. It's my muse in that sense. Like, I don't need to like build a spaceship and go there and experience it and colonize some other planet. I just like to think of it as just like potential. Like, there's just like other worlds, like there could be other kinds of life out there. I don't care to even interact with the other kinds of
yeah,
life.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm like, just live, like,
Yeah, it's
I just
almost
like the
like
fantasy of it.
yeah, like just yeah, grasping everything concretely, rationally, getting it in your clutches mentally or culturally. It's like there is this, yeah, you stop imagining it. It stops being. It becomes astronomy, not astrology. Like I don't.
Right.
I mean, some people make fun of astrology. I don't, because I'm just like, well, you really think hundreds of years, thousands of years, all those people were just fucking morons, and like just suddenly, suddenly we like know what the truth is, that it's just boiling, balls of gas. Like that's all it is. Yeah,
But that's like
losing the
another thing
mystery.
about like working into like fantasy and mystery and the unknown, and like just kind of letting things be. Like, it's okay to like have some problems unsolved or like questions unanswered. Like, I'm okay with that. And when you accept that, like, you're just not going to know everything, and everything that you think you know, it could totally be wrong. And like, once you accept that, I feel like you actually become more open-minded to like other possibilities, and it's just easier to connect to like the flow of the universe. And that's like almost like the seed of creativity. Like, I feel like I can tap into that. Like, tapping into the unknown is like the fuel to like my creative fire.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, it sounds like you've got like a vibe. I think you get like humility. It seems like sort of a part of your vibe. I don't mean as an individual being like humble. I mean, but just like an orientation toward nature that is, limits of man. There's like a limit to sort of like a certain reverence to leaving things alone. That's sort of a more humble view of the
Well,
artist than I don't know, like
so
some people's.
I've lived in the Hudson Valley for a long time, and there was a art movement called the Hudson River School, and they were sort of based in the Hudson Valley, the Catskills. Like, the subjects of their work is a lot of places that I've been to, that I've posted pictures of: Catskills, Adirondacks, and but it is like a big focus on the Catskills. And my grandpa had a house there that I spent a lot of my life there. The most important like times of my life were in this like little cabin upstate. And there's something about the Catskills, like I see them as this like this the land itself is humble, and because it's not as like majestic as the Adirondacks, but it's like still so beautiful and simple, and I really like it there. So I feel like connecting with the humbleness of the Catskills, it's something that like is part of my work.
Yeah.
And I kind of my work is almost like a continuation of that. Like, my art style is not like the Hudson River School at all, but I think that there's certain philosophical or like spiritual elements to their work that I carry into what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Who are the is the Hudson River Valley School? Is that like are there particular people to check out within
Thomas
that?
Thomas Cole is like the big person. Sanford Gifford, Albert Beardstadt, Frederick Church. Those are like the people that maybe you've heard of, or like the
Yeah,
more like popular people.
yeah. I'm
Um,
not my visual art knowledge is not super
their
hooked up, but I'll
their
learn a
stuff
little
is
here.
really amazing. Like, because it's like, I mean, a lot of landscapes, but like especially with Thomas Cole, there's like some more like allegorical like elements in his work. You may have seen this. He did a 5-part series called The Course of an Empire, and it's like starts off like this very primitive state, and it goes to like the height of civilization, and then like the destruction.
Yeah,
And I see it a lot now because we're sort of like going through this very weird thing in our own civilization where
yeah,
people are like, we feel like we're on the edge of
yeah.
the edge.
Kali Yuga.
Like,
It's full on Kali
right.
Yuga style. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cycles. I mean, yeah. I mean,
So
yeah,
this series is like, I see it kind of growing in popularity these days, like people talking about it or posting it. And I've seen like, I mean, I've seen a lot of these works in person. And for my birthday, not this past birthday, the year before, me and my siblings and my cousin and my husband, we went to the Hudson River Museum in Yonkers, and they were having an exhibit of all these painters that I like. And there was this couple there, and this guy was just like this is like Bob Ross, like whatever. Like, I was just like, fuck you. Just like, fuck you,
I
man.
mean,
Like,
maybe Bob Ross is less shitty than people think. I don't know.
I'm actually like, I'm cool with Bob Ross. Like, I'm not
Let's
knocking
fucking.
Bob Ross, but I was like, he meant that in a like as an insult. Like, he
Oh
was like,
yeah,
this is like this fucking Bob Ross.
he sounds.
Like,
I sounds like a moron, but perhaps we should rehabilitate Bob Ross. Maybe that's what this is. Reevaluating. Like I'm really into Ross. Big influence on me is Ross.
No,
Yeah.
I actually have memories like growing up of watching Bob Ross because like when I was a kid, like we didn't have cable TV, so like we just had like 1 through 13, and he was on PBS, which was channel
Yeah.
13, and it was like
It's wholesome shit.
like I used to like watch Bob Ross. Like,
I used to like fall asleep like, halfway through one, and then you kind of wake up from your nap halfway through the other one, and it's like, oh, this one's ice. It's like,
I would
yeah.
actually like I think like they should have more shit like that. Like I think that's actually way better than like any other bullshit that's on TV. Like,
Yeah. I mean, they could have like a Bob Ross type. They could have a bunch of different people who are like Bob Ross, that kind of populist, like bring it to the people, but with other styles, with like weird collage stuff or like, abstract expressionism.
They kind of do it. Like there's like Twitch channels of people doing art. Like people do live stream their art, but like Bob Ross was like, the torchbearer.
Yeah. Like... He really did you know, this is because my dad's actually like obsessed with Bob Ross. He's like so dadded out. Did you know he actually perms his hair? That's not his
I did know that.
Did. All right, I'm not blowing your mind. You got the inside.
Yeah, no,
inside scoop.
Because deep down I am a fan. I'm a fan of Bob Ross.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's some funny shit. Yeah, I mean, talk about humble art. I mean, that's like he's just like a total like that's like the most humble like humble.
Yeah, because it's like he's not like trying to be cool. Like he's just not like I'm just like here painting landscapes, and it's enjoyable for people to watch, and maybe you're like painting along, and that's like the best thing that you could do for someone is like get them into art. Like
yeah. No, totally. I'll say though, your work is like, I mean, even though it seems to come from like this humble sort of psychology or like, sort of like reverence, like it's definitely intense. It's like striking imagery, like it's not like, some like you got to like look at it 20 times to like really get into the vibe. Like it's got a very, just colors, the images,
I mean, I think that's just like part of my communication style. Like I just don't really even talk that much. Like
you're breaking up a little bit.
I don't really talk that much. That's my like communication style. So I think when I'm making art, like I just want it to be like a sudden, like that's the message right there. Like I don't want to have to make it complicated. Like I just want it to be like you got it like right in the beginning. And like when I speak to people, I think I'm usually like just I try to be very direct, and I think that's how I come off like visually. Like it's
absolutely, yeah.
Direct
and consistent.
I do think that people like will like sit with it. I don't know how people how they approach it, but
yeah. Oh, I mean, I sit with it too. I'm just saying it's bold. There's like a boldness right off the bat. It's so much of your stuff. It's very collage. I mean, I don't know if you call it collage, but I mean, you're cutting, you splicing together images. But what I love about it, I mean, what drew me to it that made me want to ask you about the video was just that even though it's like it seems like you're juxtaposing like ancient. There's like classical art and traditional European art, but like juxtaposed with modern looking contemporary stuff and space, and but it's like kind of, but at the same time it doesn't have this kind of like this clever thing of like, ooh, I bet you didn't think it's, you know what I mean, like it's not like postmodern kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm like calling into question, like, let's fucking analyze, you know what I mean? It's like aesthetically consistent. It's whole. Your pieces have a whole, a wholeness that like makes sense within themselves, even though it is totally like patching together elements from across history. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think across history, across cultures, I mean, there is like maybe a heavier influence of European art just because I personally like really like Renaissance art or Baroque. Like, so it's just, that's like a personal preference, but I try to like work in other cultures and other time periods. But I do like, I like juxtaposition in general, like bringing together like opposites is like what I do, and that's like part of the whole overall philosophy. So it's
Yes.
like old and new, and male and female, and light and dark, and space and earth, like all of that. It's bringing them together to sort of create this like third thing, which is the artwork itself.
Yes. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Opposites. I mean, that's. I know. Yeah. What was I gonna? Because I've got a couple like points that yeah, like I wanted to steer. Well, like what? Okay, so when I think opposites, well, I think of that could be a lot of different things. I could think of like Hegel or something, but it's knowing what your vibe is. I'm thinking of the occult, or I'm thinking of alchemy, Hermetic tradition, right? Like, is that's
I
you're
think
coming out of that, right?
it is a form of alchemy.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe it, and it just, I guess, in a more like personal way, like like a lot of people will comment on like the volume of work that I produce,
Yeah, you do
and
a lot.
to me, I'm just like, that's because I'm really trying to like transmute my own emotions, and it's like my own pain or frustration or anxiety or whatever. And it also is like influenced by like the suffering of others. Like I feel like suffering is just like part of the human condition, and the only way to make this existence bearable is to take that and try to transform it into something beautiful that someone can enjoy, and maybe like have like some inspire them to do something themselves. So
Yeah.
I feel like there's never a shortage of like suffering in this fucking world. So
Yeah.
like
Yep.
there's plenty to like transmute, and I that's like my motivation, and why it's like it's a daily like practice. Like I force myself to do this every day. And so it's like I post something almost every day. Like sometimes like it's just not, I post almost everything I make. I think about like 90% of my work is just like, but it's just like, this is part of like my daily thing. And sometimes pieces that I don't like, other people like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I share it anyways, but sometimes I'm like, this just isn't.
No, this is something that I think some artists need to hear and get more into. Some maybe need to get less into that. But as far as the opening up the filter a little bit, being less obsessively precious with every single piece, being like, this is even better than the last one. I've now ascended to the next. Like what you're saying, this like daily practice of yeah,
It's the only way you're ever going to get better is by doing it. Like people like
yeah.
so many, especially with music, people are like, well, I'm collecting all these synthesizers, and in like 10 years when I have enough, then I'll like record the best album ever. And like,
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
use the shit you have and
Exactly.
record something, because it doesn't matter. You can have all the shit in the world and it's not going to make you make a better record. Like just use
Yeah.
what you have and start recording, because like
Totally, yeah. I
you're
mean,
wasting your
yeah.
time.
I think a lot of musicians, when they're first starting out, they're like not afraid to fail and put out flawed work, or be a little less precious. But then you get to a certain point, you're like, okay, I'm for real now. Now it's just like, every Bowie album, like boom, 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 But it's like, what about singles? What about being a SoundCloud rapper where you put shit up and it's like, oh, all right, the next one will be good. There's.
I treat my music the same way I treat my visual art, and it's just, I sit down, I record something, and that's it. It's going out. Like
Yeah.
if I think it's like good, I'm like, okay, this is going out. Like there's not too many that like don't ever get released. Like they eventually do, but like I just put it out, and like sometimes there's just like a glaring like fuck up right in there.
Yeah.
I leave it because I'm like, you know what? I'm a human being, and I want everyone to know that this was made by a human being, because I make mistakes. So it's just like, yeah, there's some fucked up thing in there. I'm not going to like auto tune. I'm not going to do that shit. Like, I'm just like, this was it. Like this is the raw thing. And because I think especially with music, it's like, when I'm like making the song, it's like I'm just like in the zone, and I'm like, if I have to now go back and like tinker, it's not, the magic's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's just like, that's the kind of music that I make. Like this,
Yeah.
for other people, it is a different process. Like,
yeah, people work differently. Yeah.
And I'm not like knocking anyone that does tinker, because people make really amazing things when they do. But I'm just like not I don't do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, you gotta. I mean, there's different, different phases too. Because yeah, I've always for years and years, I really have been about like the masterpiece. Like really just like every 2 years, you guys get like the most tinkered with shit. But now, for some reason, something about quarantine. I guess because there's like it's so unclear, performance wise, what you can do, and just the album cycle, in my mind, it just becomes less like an album. Like, I don't know. It just like right now, I'm feeling myself being pulled more to that less precious kind of like I'm trapped in here. I'm online more than a fucking 12-year-old kid is online. Like I'm just living here. Like let's just leak, let's be less precious. I'm getting more into this less precious vibe about it. So it's yeah, that daily work is cool,
Well,
ritual.
there's another like side of it where I feel like I really only like started doing this like maybe in the last like 3 or 4 years. And I feel like I wasted like my entire 20s because I overthought everything. Like I didn't produce that much, but I was like making some things and it was like, well, this isn't good enough. So I'm just like not, I wasn't really doing as much. And now I'm just
Yeah.
like, fuck it, who cares? And like, I put stuff out there and it's like when it's out, I really, I kind of like can't look back. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I can't like really, it's hard for me sometimes to revisit my own work because I'm like, oh, like like the way I was like feeling when I made that, like I don't even want to like think about that
I
again.
know.
Like
I know.
so
Yeah.
it's just like it's fucking gone.
Yeah.
Like,
You're gonna cringe. You're gonna cringe at old stuff. There's no way
I mean,
around
even like
that,
shit I made last week, I'm like, oof, like that's,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
not great, but it's, other people do find my old work and they enjoy it. And I'm happy
Yeah.
that they do, that like people still connect, like my old project, the Whip Angels, like people still connect to that. And I'm
Yeah.
happy, even though like I'm just like, oh, that project, like get away from me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I basically learned how to sing on the first 3 Extra Life records. So it's like by the end of the band, I was like, oh, I can sing now. But it's like now that, but that's how, you're learning on
But
the job, on the job
that's
training.
that's how you do it. Like that's
Yeah.
the best way to do it, because if you wait, then it's like your whole life passed you by, or like maybe you fucking like drop dead and then you didn't do the thing that you wanted to do. Like
Yeah.
that's what
No, totally.
that's how I kind of approach it. Like I feel like I've had like enough brushes with death that I'm like, I might drop dead, and then it's like I didn't do the things that I wanted to do. So like I'm gonna do it. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. Like it
Yeah.
gets better as I go, and like there's gonna be some things that
So,
suck and like whatever.
so,
Like
so you, so you're like deep, like prolific vibe. Like that's only been recent years. Like you're not like, actually, I thought you were a little younger also. Like, like it's only like how long has it been since you've really been like cranking out this sort of body of work that is now like the Joan Pope body of work? Like,
all right. So the Whip Angels started in like 2011, and that was just kind of like, okay, my first, like I had never made music before. Um and my husband actually, like we had been friends like before we got together, and just like as a friend, he was like, you should like make music. Like this is like, he's like, I think you'd be good at it because you like music. So he just like gave me a bunch of shit. Like he gave me a mixer, a microphone, a mandolin, like a keyboard. He just gave me a bunch of shit and was like, just fuck around. And oh, and he gave me a loop pedal. So that was like, the looping became like a big part of like my development. So like
yeah,
having this loop pedal like was important. So I just like started experimenting. At that time, I was writing poetry and performing it as like a way to overcome like shyness and anxiety, and like forcing myself to do this, even though it like sucked. Like I hated it, but I would force myself to do it. So I started the Whip Angels to set the poetry to music. And I mean, I released a lot of stuff under that project, but I think in like 2017, like that's when I really started, like there was a shift. Like I was like making art and doing some collage and making music like before that, but it became like my life at that point, because I was just like, I want to do this. Like, I want to be a professional artist. Like, I want this to be how I make my living. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is if I start doing it like it's already my job. So I'm treating this like my job. I'm not sleeping in. I'm waking up at the fucking crack of dawn and I'm starting this and I'm learning new skills. I'm getting myself out there. I am treating this like a job until it is a job. And like that worked.
Yeah.
Like it's like my advice to like other artists. It's like, you have to take it seriously. Like, do not, like, seriously, like, you have to wake up early, get started, work, and like, don't like just squander like your free time. Like, you know, it's like, don't, you know, go to the fucking bar all day. Like, you know, like people just like, they go out every fucking night, and it's just like, no, you can't do that anymore. If you want to do this, like, unless you're performing or like seeing someone else like perform, like, you better not just be sitting at a fucking bar. You know, like, don't do that. Like, unless you're going to a show or unless you're performing at a show, don't do it. Like, just use that time constructively. Like, because like you might have to have a job. Like, you probably have to have another job, like, while you're getting to that stage. Well, like, it doesn't,
most people,
it doesn't like happen overnight. So like, you're still going to be working, but it's like an hour before you leave for work, you better be working on it. When you get home, you do it. And like, slowly you try to like, you know, monetize your passion, and it can become your job. So
yeah. Especially like, I don't know, like in quarantine, I mean, most people have way more time now. I mean, even if your job didn't get axed or fucked up, you know, even if people working from home or can work outside, it's like you got a lot more time. And I was kind of I definitely felt somewhat deflated inspiration wise by this whole thing hitting. And I did a video about forcing inspiration, where it's like, it's kind of like what you said. It's just like, you got to just show up. You know, you got to show up. And if the inspiration doesn't, you know, if the muse doesn't show up, fine. I did my job and I still made something that day, or at least, you know, put in some work.
Even when, like, even if it doesn't really manifest, like, it's like, at least you maybe have something. Like, sometimes it's like, I'll kind of make like a half-assed thing, and it's like, I might revisit that in a few weeks, and then it turns out to be amazing. So sometimes that's a thing. And because I have different things that I do, like I do collage, I do video, I do music, I do a little bit of writing. If I'm not really feeling one, then I work on the other. So it's like, if I'm not really feeling like doing a visual art thing, well, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to work on music. Like, so I just like work on something else. And
and
that helps too. So like, I don't feel like I'm like a wonderful musician or a wonderful video editor or a wonderful like collage artist, but the combination of all of them, I think that's what makes me.
I know what you mean. Yes. That's what I've been kind of trying to get more into that too. I mean, in a way, that's a way of being less, not only is it less precious with each individual work, but less precious about your sense of who you are, you know, like, cause I've always been just like, I am a great musician. Everything else, I don't know, man. I don't even have it together. You know, it's like now I'm getting, especially under quarantine this past year, I'm like, no, there's music, and I'm like writing more, you know, I got some like essays that may come out places, and a couple that will, and, you know, doing this, you know, I'm like a broadcaster now. You know what I mean? It's like,
whatever. I mean, and like there's an art to that. Like,
I'm getting it together.
There's
slowly.
There's something to this. I don't know. Like with quarantine, like, I mean, I felt like I was just like very like worried about people, and you know, so that takes a lot of energy. And I had like, you know, some other stuff happening with my family that was totally unrelated, but like extremely stressful. And so it was just like a very stressful time, because like everyone, it's like global stress, like, and you're just feeling that from like everyone. Like you have like celebrities losing their shit, and you're just like,
it's so fucking brutal. It's so we're about to see Epstein revelations that are gonna be like, you know, they could be on the level of like the French Revolution or
Oh my
something, like
God. No,
historically. I'm
but
probably
like the thing is,
probably over
you
exaggerating.
fucking know that like because they've been like trickling the whole like UFO shit. Like the day like
Dude,
something actually matters about Jeffrey Epstein, they're gonna be like the UFOs are here.
I know. I saw that shit about the UFOs, man. And like the only person who's talking about it is my friend Dennis, who was on the show too from the band Ohms, or from his project Ohms. Yeah, and we're always talking about like the most insane shit. You know, like whether it's conspiracy theories or fucking nootropics or whatever. Like, you know, but he's like my only friend who's talking about this shit. I'm glad you brought this up. Yeah, so guys, if you're watching this and you don't know, there's aliens. It's X-Files. There's fucking UFOs.
Kind of like,
they found them.
I don't even like. I don't know if it's even true, and I don't even.
Oh, there he is.
I mean, I just don't even care. Like, I feel like they're just gonna fake it. Like, they're just gonna be like, there's gonna be some crazy shit about Epstein, and then they're just gonna like get a hologram and like be like, the UFOs are coming, so everyone just like forgets about that and like hides in their house, and like we've already been doing. Like, I'm just kind of like, oh God, like so, you know, some bullshit's gonna happen to like hide that. Like,
yeah. Ugh, it's so hard.
So I'm not even. Yeah. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Like the people are just gonna keep raping kids, and like it's just gonna keep going. Like it's elites are gonna elite. You know, that's how it goes. Oh shit, we got Dennis. Dennis is in the comment section. Night Partridge, what's up? And we got Proxys. Sick. Carl is in the house. I don't know if are you looking at the comments, Joan? I don't know where they are.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend. I mean,
I don't want to be distracted by that. Like, I feel like it's better if I think that there's not an audience. Like,
oh no, we've got some people. They're cool. I don't have. I'm not big enough to have people who completely suck watching, but I do want to get to that point where like utterly like bad people check it out, because that's when you're really getting out there. But yeah, so like, yo, I wanted to ask. Okay, so like, we kind of touched on it, but like, what's up with the occult, yo? What is it? I mean, to you, like, because you talked about alchemy a little bit, but like, I don't know. It seems like very central to your thing. I mean, like, because you're talking about sigils, you know,
right?
Like, I mean, those are used right in like spell work, right? Like, I don't know, like.
Okay, so here's the thing about the occult. I feel like it's actually better to not talk about it, because that's kind of the point.
It's in the word, yes. It's occulted. Yes.
Right. But I will say, like, you know, so many times, like, people, like, they want like this real, like, you know, on a platter explanation of all the like threads in my work. And I was just like, if you start looking at my visual work as like if each like piece of the work is like a hieroglyph, like it's a symbol, then you might, if you look at it that way, I think you'll understand it a little bit better. Like, it's not just like a pretty picture. Yeah. There's a message. Like, each thing is like a sigil, and it's communicating something. And I think people do get it. Maybe like not in an explicit way, but that's the point. Like, I want it to be like kind of getting to like this unconscious way. Yeah. And that's, I think, the beauty of being an occult artist. Like, yeah. It's like you have to actually be like esoteric about how you communicate, because then it's not really, it's just not like
articulation sort of lays it bare in a way that is
fucking ruins it. Like, it just fucking ruins it. But like, kind of going back a little bit to like what we were talking about, like juxtaposing like old and new, and I feel like I want my art to be able to be understood by someone in the future or someone in the past. So if you showed someone, like, I feel like I'm taking things from the past, from all the like time, from like over, you know, history, these symbols that like keep reoccurring in like different cultures and different places, and putting them together to kind of show that there's like these sort of universal symbols that keep reappearing, because I wish like if there was like a way to like put my art 400 years back in time, if someone saw it, that they could like get the message, or if you put it 400 years into the future, they could get the message.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's like it is like hieroglyphs, like
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Well, there's definitely something. I don't know if occult's the right word. The idea of universals or like unchanging essences is that's like not. I don't want to say it's not fashionable right now, but that's like not I don't know. Like I always when I hear artist statements or composer statements or people, it's so much of the time it's like my work is concerned with this, and it's like critical. Like everything's about critique, like
it's
tearing
about.
shit
Yeah, okay,
down and
yes,
critiquing
that's
universals. Whereas like the idea of like there's universal beauty, there's higher things that we're accessing. That's almost considered kind of like reactionary or naive or something,
I mean, I
right?
get the like impulse to like tear shit down. Like I get it. I understand, but I'm really like into creation and creating things and building things up. Like I want to build something better. Like I'm ready to like build a better world. Like yeah, okay, we're the world as it is right now, it sucks, and I don't have to put energy into tearing it down because it's just going to crumble on its fucking own. Like
Yes.
it's crumbling on its own. Like, before everything that's like happening right now, it's like you knew the levee was going to break. Like before COVID, before George
Yeah.
Floyd, like before all these things happened, like there was pressure building, and like you knew it was only a matter of time before shit just started crumbling. But I'm just like, I don't need to like help the destruction. I'm ready to like build the new thing, and I'm just kind of waiting for other people to like get on board with like, let's build the new thing and start living as though we already have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's yeah, like this. It's funny because I sort of the a lot of people we had in common on Twitter that brought that I noticed like like was like the sort of accelerationist types, which is very much about collapse and kind of has that spirit of like, well, it kind of has this some of that has the spirit of like let's accelerate the collapse. Some people
Right.
it's more like it's happening anyway, so like
And like
whatever. But
I'm not like about that, but it's like
yeah,
the thing is like, and this is like just something that just fucking drives me insane. It's like, I still think that like what they're talking about is really interesting, and I want to like be aware of all these different like these different movements of ideas. Like I'm interested in ideas that are not necessarily ones that I like, like I'm
yeah.
just interested in different ideas. And like sometimes people get a little like funny about like who you follow on Twitter. Like
Tell me about
it's
it.
just like you're following this person, so you must think exactly like they do. It's like, do you think that
Yeah.
my mind is so weak that just because like I follow someone on Twitter, like their thoughts are now
I
mine?
know, I
Like,
know.
how
It's
fucking
like
stupid are
it's
you?
literally like
Like,
reading a book. It's like I read a book. Like what,
yeah, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you can read like some fucking vile shit, and it doesn't mean that like you're like, this is like my Bible now.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like,
Even vileness aside, I wasn't even really talking about like I wasn't even trying to go down the road of like unsavory, terrifying like shit.
right.
But just on the level of like you don't seem like well, like you're talking about collapse, but like you don't seem to have like a dark, pessimistic I don't know, your affect about it
I
is not you're not a bummer about it. You're
I
like
try really hard. Like, I mean, it's hard to not be like that. Like, I get why everyone feels the way they do. And, I get the frustration. I get the pessimism. I get why everyone's depressed. Like, I understand. But I feel like I wasted so much of my life being depressed and pessimistic. And it just doesn't lead anywhere. Like, I don't know, like somewhere along the way, like I had a wake up call, and despite everything, just despite how shitty everything is, like I still have faith that we could have a better world, like that we could be better, that we can as individuals be better, as a society we could be better. Like I feel like you have to keep your eye on that, like, because it's the only way you're ever going to get it. Like if you just keep your eye on the ball, like you will get there. Like I do think that there's like a light at the end of the tunnel. Like it's dark right now, but like I believe that light's there. And maybe it's
Word.
not. Maybe I'm fucking wrong. But it's like I think that like I'm happier by believing it's there. So like fuck you if you want to live in the dark.
No, totally. It sounds like though for you though the optimism about the future has to do with a return to the past. Because I mean, you've said you have a certain disdain for modernity and the sort of unsacredness of the modern world, and like recapturing sacred stuff. So it seems like you're like very optimistic about the future, but that it's going to have to recapture
that,
stuff from the past. I mean, to some extent.
I
Right?
believe in the cycle. Like I think that like there's always cycles in nature. Like so it's going to come back around. Like it just will. Like it just like every like culture goes through this, like people in their own lives, like there's just like a rise and fall and then a rebirth. Like that's what sex, death, rebirth is. It's like the beginning, the end, and then the starting again. Like it's just, I have faith in the cycle. Like
Yeah.
so I might not live to see it. Like I might not live to see like the other side of like where we are now. I hope I do, but
Yeah. Yeah, I went through a big phase. Well, it's not a phase that ended, but just there have been other times in my life when I've been way more fixated on occult and alchemical symbols. The last Extra Life record was all, dealing with Jung, Paracelsus, however you say, alchemical tradition and stuff. And it's like, I'm really returning to that lately at least in my mind, because it's like this solace from just, I mean, I don't believe in like total disengagement with current events in the world, but there is this way where it's not just that it's stressful or something, because I'm down with stress, I'll take it, but just looking at what's going on right now, it's like I cannot tell if this is destruction or progress. Like I really do not. I mean, I feel you that we're
it's a little
there's this
both,
end of the cycle, but yeah,
I think it's a little both, but I really want to focus my energy on creation.
yeah,
And creating the next thing, creating the new thing, trying to just see like, I don't know, like it just that there's more to this. Like I have faith that there's more. It's like I like to see the sacredness in like the most simple things, and just tying it back to nature. Like I feel like I learned to appreciate just like watching the wind blow. Like that to me, it's like this simple thing that it's completely free. You just have to go outside and you can just see like the wind like moving the grass. And then it's like you start watching that and you see like, oh, now there's like birds coming and they're like eating the insects in the grass. And like that's kind of beautiful. Like there's this, this balance in nature. And then here's like some other like wildlife coming out, and it's you're like there's like this perfection in this, and it's a simple thing. And when I am watching it as like this witness, like they're not really noticing that I'm there, and feeling connected to the earth, I'm just like, this is being connected to creation. Like this is the most important thing, is creation.
Yep. Yeah. Creation is still creation no matter what's going on. My man Dennis says all God's work is a construction project. I suppose that's even if it's destructive. I know Dennis is a man of God for sure. In Sex, Death, and Rebirth, you refer to it as a religious, I don't know if you said movement.
I would call it a religious movement.
Yeah. Do you fuck with God as a word? I mean, do you use God, or?
I don't.
I started to.
I mean, I guess like you could say that it's God, but it's just, I feel like the word I'd rather use is just creation. Like God is creation. Like everything that we see is God.
Yeah.
And I feel like you most see it though in like the things that occur naturally. Like I don't really see God in plastic. Like I don't know, that's just me. Like
Yeah.
but it's like I feel like connected to something spiritual, like in the wilderness or like when I'm just like by myself. Like I'm part of that. Like
Yeah.
every individual is part of that because we're part of nature. Like we are animals
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. I mean, it seems like if you, it's one of these things of like talking about like man and nature. It's like, of course, technically, when you start really thinking about it, it's like, okay, yes, technically, a piece of fucking styrofoam or a chicken nuggets, like that's also technically nature because everything's nature. But the feeling that you have that I share and that lot artists share is that like, okay, technically that's true, but there is this sense that we've lost the sacred, and that the sense that there's man and then there's nature and that there are things that are keeping us away from it. Like that's real. I mean, that's a real experience that we have of alienation and then recommuning with a sense of what we call nature. So yeah, it makes sense to me to look at a piece of plastic and be like, that's not nature. Like, that, like, I definitely get that.
yeah.
Like,
Well, it's like I don't know. Like sometimes I look at like, like man-made things like a TV or something, and I'm just like, this is just like a fucking hunk of junk. Like, what is this?
yeah,
It's just like, it's so ugly, and I just hate it, and I really hate like for some reason, I don't know why people do this. And if hell is real, I hope that there's a special place for these people in hell. People who dispose of their TVs in the middle of the woods. I see this
do
so
people do
often.
that?
People bring their TVs into the middle of the woods and like they smash
Damn,
them and like they think it's funny or something.
that's
I'm like,
grim.
no, it's just like I seriously, like, you are so lucky that I did not see you do this because like I would just kill you.
That is fucking grim. That's really grim. That's fucking grim. Oh, though, okay, not to well actually that, because if I did see someone, I would have the same disgust that you had. But something that I was going to bring up anyway, though, is that I also can tell that you're not like insanely anti-technology on some like you're like, I mean, your
No,
video
I
editor, and
mean,
it made me think though of like Genesis Peorage and Throbbing Gristle and that sort of realm where like Genesis like super into like resacralizing the world and sort of recovering what was lost, but like they were also into this like using technology and TV and media as kind of like occult forces and part of the sigils, and like, you know what I'm saying, and like kind of almost before memes, like meme magic before they called it
right.
that. Is it does that kind of touch on part of your vibe a little bit,
It's,
or
I mean, it's a technology is a tool. Like, I mean, even like, a hammer is technology. Like,
no?
so it just depends on like how you're like describing it. But if you're talking about like electronic things like computers or whatever, smartphones, like obviously like I use those tools, and I wouldn't even be able to do what I do without them. Like you wouldn't know who I am. Like we wouldn't
Same,
be
of course.
doing this, like it does open a door, but I'm like, it's just a tool.
Yeah,
And when you kind of see it like that and maybe put some like limitations for yourself on technology, I think it's a little bit like better. Like some people, it's just that's the only thing that they're just like obsessed, and they're
yeah,
really disconnected from nature and the natural world. Like it's always about balance. So it's like, like I have to like after I'm done working for the day, it's like I have to just go for a little walk.
yeah.
And like, a lot of the time, like, I mean, before I came onto this stream, like I went for a hike. And because like on the weekends, like I have to like go on like a day long hike because I just need to like get away from a screen. Like I don't
It's
want to
so
be
good
in,
for you.
yeah, like it's really, really good for you. And like, I kind of think that like, I wish the smartphone like wasn't a thing. Like it's one thing like if you're at home and like on your computer because it's like whatever you're at home, but like when you're bringing it with you and you're like at a restaurant with your friends and like you're on Twitter, it's like, fuck you. I'm here in front of you.
Yeah, there
like,
is something kind of dark
like
about that.
I
Yeah.
hate that shit. It's like I wish I liked cell phones like when they were just like, a shitty thing that like had numbers and that's it. Like you just could call out and text with like, it didn't even have a keyboard. It was like you text with the numbers. Like, okay, that was like the limit with cell phones for me, but it's just like smartphones really like fucked with people like and their social interaction. Like I get so pissed off like at shows, like people are just like on their phone the whole time, not watching the performance. It's like, why did you come here? Like go home, like pay attention. Like I don't even like when I go to a show and like people are taking pictures and video the whole time. Like, if it's my friend, like, and I'm like, maybe they want a picture to like share for like their social media or something. I'll take like a couple pictures at the very beginning of their set so that like I can give it to them.
Yeah,
but I
get it out of the way.
Yeah, like let me just like get this out of the way. Like usually like when at the beginning they're kind of like they're getting into the vibe anyway. So it's just like I'll take a couple pictures and then I put the phone away.
Yeah,
and I just try to enjoy it because it's like I miss that. Yeah. I miss when I went to shows like as a younger person and it's like you felt something really amazing because if you were in a room with strangers like a lot of time, but like you were entranced by like the performance and that was amazing. Like I miss that a lot and it's been a long time since I've had that experience of like feeling like a oneness with the crowd because everyone's just on their phone and it's annoying.
Yeah.
Like
the kids still do wild out though. I don't know, like some of these younger, like these, some of these, like, I don't even know what you call it, but these sort of noise / industrial / rap kind of / club music. The kids still thrash. They definitely but yeah, everyone's negotiating this thing with. Yeah, you ever check out that guy I think Achille Mbembe? You know that guy? No. He's like a post-colonial black guy, black thinker, and he was like talking about technology and man and how it's like he was saying in like certain ancient cultures. He says African cultures, but I'm not sure which ones he's talking about. But he said that like even with like simpler technology, like just like a hammer or a shovel or whatever, they had this idea of what he calls co-agency, where like it's not like you're using the tools, but it's not like they're using you in this dark, like dystopian way. But there was this understanding in older cultures that like, okay, there's like a humility toward the tools and this understanding that it could use you, but you like collaborate with it, like, and I don't know how he goes off on that, really where that goes, but I thought that was a cool idea, co-agency. That idea makes me feel a little bit less claustrophobically paranoid about the fact that I'm on the phone. You know what I mean? It makes me a little less like, well, maybe I can negotiate some kind of co-agency with these things that are, springing up regardless of whether we want them to spring up or not,
Like even as a performer, like sometimes I'm just like, are you at this show so you could like take a picture of me and like post it on your Instagram? Like I'm in fucking Pokemon Go of musicians. Like it's just like gotta catch them all. Like, oh yeah, like I just checked out Temple of Saturn. Like check this one off the list. Like it's like, do you actually want to be here? Because it seems like you don't. Like, and
it serves corporate power purely. Also, the media platforms. It's just straight into corporate power.
Yeah, like it's it's a tool and I try to use it that way and I try to like make plenty of time to turn it off and not use it. Like usually on the weekend, I'm just like, I'm out. Like people sometimes like hit me up about like jobs and stuff and I'm just like, I'm gonna get back to you on Monday because this is my time off. I mean, I do work a lot on the weekend, but I still just like try to like make sure that I have time to just get some fresh air and like get out and just I don't want to look at a screen. Like that's
the thing about being available 24 hours a day is that's unhealthy.
That was the worst. Okay, so that was the worst thing about the quarantine because like my life didn't really change And I'm like, this is my lifestyle. Like, I am like, the Joan Pope lifestyle is like the quarantine life. Like, so it's just like, this is normal for me. And I get all of these people like hitting me up who are just like frantic, like, oh my God, like, how are you holding up? Is it okay? Are you okay? Like, what are you doing? Do you want to chat? Do you want to be in my Zoom party? Like,
Right.
and I was just like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
to be in your Zoom party. Like, because I wasn't going to be in your Zoom party before this shit.
Zoom can be awkward. I don't know. I've been having these good hangs with my girlfriend and some of her friends, like playing these kind of like simple little computer games, like as a group. It's nice.
I'm not raining.
Nice.
I'm not trying to
Nice.
rain on the Zoom party parade. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
some people like it got them through this, and like some people really need that social interaction, and like that's
Yeah.
so it's like that's great. And you know, this is like a way better time to be stuck at home than if it was 30 years ago. Like,
Could you imagine
know,
that
yeah,
shit?
like you would
Calling people on the phone with the fucking macaroni cord. Could you imagine that?
you know, like,
Dark.
so it's like if this is not, it's not too bad. Like,
Yeah.
you know, considering, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm just like, I'm just not that social, so I don't really want to be part of your Zoom party, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
No, it's working.
I got
for
a
you.
lot of invites. I didn't do them. I only did them with like some of my cousins. Those are the
Yeah,
only
good
Zoom
for
parties
family.
I did. Yeah,
Good
like,
for family. Yeah. Yeah, what this Nico says, a musical instrument is a piece of brilliant technology. So there you go. I
yes.
mean, but see, this is the thing. Like, we have a way that stuff didn't come upon us with the sudden accelerated insanity that the internet did. So, you know, musical instruments, like, I can, you know, we learned how to play a guitar and then put the fucking thing down and then go
Right.
sing and then stop singing and then play a drum and then stop. You know, it's like it didn't come upon us like all of a sudden I gotta have a guitar in my hand 24 hours a day and like I can't
Well,
put it
then
down.
it's like, you know, even shit like Alexa or whatever. Like, I don't have that shit. So, like, I don't even know the full, like, capabilities of, like, these smart home things. Like, people talking to their refrigerator, like,
Yeah.
deliver more milk. Like, you know, like,
Yeah, totally.
like, that shit's, like, really scary to me. Like, I'm like, I'll probably never get that shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally. I actually wanted to kind of like let me steer it to something that we haven't talked about that seems like it's a big part of your work. We're talking about sex, death, and rebirth. I feel like we've been talking about death and rebirth and cycles, but the sex side of it and the erotica side of it feels like actually that's one of the key things in your work that I mean not just as far as, you know, nude statues and the you know, not just the human form, but specifically like erotica. Like, yeah, I don't know. How does that
well,
fit in?
okay,
Sacred
so
or
I've always like sex in general has always just, I mean, I think it's a big motivator for everybody, but or most people. And I'm not any different. Like, sex has been a motivator. But it's not just sex, it's always been like a tool for intimacy. Like, I've never been like the like fuck around type. Like, I was like, before I was married, it's like I was a serial monogamist. Like, I just would have like several years long relationships with people, and then like the next relationship I was in was the same. Like, because I wasn't looking for just like some cheap fuck. Like, I wanted something bigger than that. Like, I wanted something that was, you know, like I just, my experience is like, I want like trust and intimacy, and I want to have that connection with someone, and like sex is the way to do it.
yeah.
So I've worked that into my art and like erotic art, because I don't think that a lot of modern or contemporary art is very sexy. Like, there's just, it's kind of pornographic, and you know, some of my art like might kind of like be on that line of like erotic and pornographic, but I try to kind of steer it into something that is a little more like artistic.
I'm interested, that distinction. I had a feeling you were going to say that. I didn't want to like say it, but because I can't remember what it was, but there's something you tweeted, like a picture or something that I can't remember whether you said it or someone commented. They were like, "This is not pornography. This is erotica," and it was like a very like hard line, and
like, so yeah, I mean, maybe I said that, maybe someone else said that. Something I would say, like, something
Yeah.
I feel like I tweeted kind of recently was just like, I just wrote like erotica versus pornography, or like the sensual versus the vulgar.
Yes.
And there's a difference, like, so it's like not all like nudity is pornographic. Like, it can be like artistic and in spiritual in a sense, because it's kind of like trying to sort of guide people into that, like, the fantasy realm or like the unknown, like when it's
Yes.
like
Mystery. The mystery realm.
porn, it's, if people like porn, like that's fine, that's their choice to like consume it, to make it, to do whatever they want with it. um but I feel like it's kind of dehumanizing and weird. Like, I just don't really like it that much. So I'm like, I want something though that is kind of like arousing or whatever. Like, I'm not seeing what I want to see, so I'm just gonna make it myself. And
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
other people will like get on board and maybe not. Um
Yeah.
and it's just like, it's kind of like going back to this whole idea of like using all the tools that you have. So it's like my body is one of my tools. And so it's like I'm the subject of a lot of my art. And I'm just like, well, I'm only going to just like get older. So I might as well use what I have now.
Yeah. We'll use it later too. I mean, have to keep it to youth.
While I look like a certain way, like I have a look that people like, and might as well
Yeah.
use it.
Yeah, but but not pornographically. Yeah, this Jake Desjardins, if I'm pronouncing it, or Desjardins, says porn is bad for your soul.
Yeah, it kind of.
That's. I mean, I feel what he means. I feel what he means.
I know what he
Like,
means. I don't want to. I'm not judging people. I really, and I don't care. Like, if other people are into it, that's them, and whatever. I don't know. Like, I did feel like, when I make this sort of like erotic like photos or videos, I've gotten a really great response. And it's like, I think that people do kind of want something that is a little bit less explicit, because it's like, I'm trying to give a fantasy, not just like, here it is. Like, I'm not trying to give everything away. And I think porn does that. And it's almost like medical. Like,
yeah, well,
it has this
it
like
becomes,
medical quality. And I'm like,
it becomes it's like hyper representation, and it's like representing, porn shows you like, well, see this, when I say this sounds like it could be deep, but it feels shallow to me. Like, it shows you angles, it shows you angles of sex that you wouldn't see if you were having any kind of real sex. But see, now I say that sounds like it could be kind of sick or deep and beautiful, but it, like, I don't feel like it is, but I mean, it definitely, porn definitely boils sex down to this more transactional,
it just doesn't leave
unsacred thing.
It doesn't leave anything to the imagination, and I like the imagination. Like,
Yeah.
so like that's what it is. And I also think like there's like been a shift in pornography since it's become really, really accessible. So like, because it's like just so readily available on the internet. Like, I think like that's not really good either. Like, I feel like it was kind of better when it was like you had a magazine and it was just like,
I was gonna say,
a still image.
Yeah.
Like,
When I was when I was a kid, we would talk about a porn. It wasn't like porn, like this constant stream. It was like, oh, he's got a porn. Like, it was like a video,
Yeah, like someone got one from somewhere. Like,
yeah, and then you had to get the porn in your hands.
And it's like this thing, but now it's like, oh man, like really little kids see this shit, and it's not good. Like, I was in a park. I was walking with my friend, and there was like these 3 little boys, and like 2 of them were maybe like 10, and the little one was like, he had to be like 5, like he was small.
Yeah.
And they were talking about porn, and they were like, the older
5.
ones were, it was fucked up. I was just like, this is terrible. And like, so the older ones were like kind of fucking with the little one, and they were like, if you don't stop, like, we're going to make you watch porn when we get home. And I was like, oh my God, like,
Well,
where's
that's
the
actually
parents?
abuse.
Like,
Well, that's abuse
yeah,
actually.
like
Like
this,
I wouldn't consider that a form of molestation, like 10 to 5, like forcing someone to watch porn.
it was
I would call
fucked
that
up.
abuse.
I was just like,
Yeah.
this is like they're like they're using it as a tool to like fuck with this
Yeah.
little kid, like,
Fuck with the kid's mind. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's just
That's
not
grim,
good.
man.
Whereas like
That's
back in the day, like maybe you were 10 years old and like you found like a magazine or you found like a VHS and like you're seeing it, but it's like the VHS quality, even if it's hard, even if it was like hardcore, the quality is like, it's just not the same
sort
as
of
like what we have today.
sort of yeah, softens the blow. Yeah, definitely. When I was 11, it was like my friends had a Playboy that was inside of this metal magazine cover that they glued on the cover, and I remember it had Ozzy on the cover, and then it's like they're passing around the metal mag and it had Ozzy, and then inside it was Playboy. But fucking, do you know that guy Connor Habib? Do you know
Yeah,
Connor?
I know who that is.
Yeah, he's an interesting. I sort of befriended him on Twitter too. I would love to have him on this fucking podcast because
Yeah, you should. He probably would
'cause-
come on.
I'll see. I got to butter him up a little more, but I got to lube him up a little more. No, but but you know his deal. Like he's like sort of a former philosophy academic, became a
Right.
gay porn star, or he's gay the whole time, but became a porn star, and it became a porn star, and then now is like he sort of podcasts about philosophy, but he is very much into the occult, and he's very into his his work as a porn star and into sex work as he's like a sex worker's rights,
Yeah,
guy.
like,
and he,
I think
interesting.
I think he's an interesting guy. Like I've been following
Yeah.
him on Twitter for a really long time, and like,
yeah.
it's like I think we have different paths. Like, we overlap maybe in some ways, but we have different paths, and like that's fine. Like, like if he
Yeah.
wants to do the porn thing, like go for it, man. Like
Yeah.
you do
Well,
you.
of
like,
course you don't judge. I don't judge either, but I'm just interested in what he would say.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, I feel like it's a matter of like personal choice. So it's just like, yeah, I wasn't going to ever do like hardcore porn. Like, that's just not
No, of
what I
course.
want, because it's
Yeah.
just not what I wanted to do. But I felt comfortable enough with myself to still make erotica, like make
Yeah.
erotic content. And yeah, I think they're different. I think they are different things. Some people see them as the same, but I think they are
Yeah.
different.
Well, no, I mean, see, I see it more the way you do, like that pornography has a desacralized kind of less mysterious vibe. So that's why I would wonder what his point of view is, just because I like don't get it exactly. I'm just like,
I mean, I think
like,
it's just
how
like
could
it
that
has
be?
it has a different function. Like I just think that they're two different things, and the function of porn, it's like you watch it to get off, and like the thing is though, it's like some people watch
Right.
stuff that like gets them off. And it's like you're getting off to it because it's like kind of like weird, and like you wouldn't normally like this. Like you wouldn't actually like this in real life. Like, and that's when like when
people say that. People say that.
I feel like that I've had that like realization of just kind of like watching something, and it's just like, okay, this is like arousing to see because it's different and like different from my experience, but it's just like, this is actually like fucking weird. And like
Yeah.
it's not, I just don't want this. So
Yeah. No, it's interesting to think, yeah, like even growing up before the deluge of internet porn, I do sometimes wonder, I'm like, man, like how vanilla would I be if I like had just never seen, you're just like Victorian, like trying to catch a glimpse of an ankle and then just fucking catching the vapors,
But that's the thing though. Like I feel like people like sometimes you talk about this, like they start off just like watching like whatever, like they end up going down this like rabbit hole of like all these fetishes and like whatever, and it's just kind of like, would you have ever gotten there like on your own? Like
I know. No, I know. It's
just
weird.
don't know. But
Fucking what is John Lamberton, my man John says, I dare both of you to show us your search history. I'll tell you, John.
I will. I don't care. Like,
yeah, she's got nothing to hide. And I'll tell you, as far as I go, my YouTube search history is infinitely more damning than any porn search history, man. Like Porn, you can't cancel me for porn. Like YouTube, people be like, Jesus, dude, like that's the
Yeah,
vibe, you
I
know?
don't even care. Like, I mean, it's just like even I don't even care. Actually, the funny thing is, one of my first like on the books jobs was at a sex shop. Like, I worked at a
I
porn
think you
shop.
told me that.
Like,
I fucking forgot that. I think you told me that once. Yeah.
and I feel like
Oh yeah.
almost that was kind of like what did it for me. Like, it was just like, it was just a job. Like, I just needed a job, and my friend worked there. So it's
Yeah.
like they were like they're hiring. So I was like, okay, like I'm gonna
Yeah.
work there. It was interesting because I was in college at the time, so I looked very young, and that was like a thing. Like, people would come
Yeah.
in, like guys would come in there and be like, "Whoa, like, are you
Yeah.
old enough to work here?" And I was just
Right.
like,
Right. Right.
like, you fuck off, like, you're so
Yeah.
weird, like, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was like, my like sales pitch, I guess, like kind of
Right.
being this like young, barely legal, whatever.
Ugh. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like, so I know a lot about porn and like, and seeing people's like obsession because
Yeah.
people would come every day. It's like, I don't even know why you're coming into this shop because you could just watch it online, but this is like part of it for some people. Like, they like the ritual of like going
Of
there.
walking in. Yeah. The guy in the
Yeah.
trench coat, the old school guy with the
No, but
fucking hat
dude,
and
the
the
thing
trench
is, it,
coat.
it wasn't just the fucking old guy in the trench coat. Like, they were young, handsome men. Like, it was
Yeah.
all demographics coming in
Yeah.
there. Like,
Yeah.
it's like every kind of person comes in there, old, young, whatever.
No, totally.
And it's like I would see though, like there were sometimes even like patterns, like what people were like into, and that was really interesting to me. Like, I felt like that was like the most like interesting like research project I was ever part of,
Yeah.
because I would just like pay
Yeah.
attention
Yeah.
to like what people were getting. Um,
Yeah. Right. Right.
but
Yeah.
I
It
feel
seems
like
like. Yeah. Sorry.
that's what like kind of did it for me. I was just like, this is like weird, and I just don't.
Yeah.
I
We got you to
don't.
draw lines.
Yeah, like I just don't really like this. And like, it's not like I've never watched porn or I've never gotten off to porn. Like, I have, but it's somewhere along the way I was just like, this just like doesn't feel good. Like, when it's
Yeah.
when it's over, it doesn't feel that good.
Well, Well, it's not beautiful. Tracy Harms in the comments says, I can't. There's a classic thing. I can't define pornography, but I know it when I see it.
Yeah.
Tracy in the comments says, I can't define erotica, but I know it when I see it. So yeah, it almost seems like for you or for like a lot of people, it's not about that there's an objective line, but it's that drawing that line between erotica and pornography is like a part of your work, and it's like a part of, drawing that line, even if it's case by case. It's
I
like
like
important.
to sometimes like walk that line. Like, I purposely do sometimes because I like to sort of like transgress into the other side of it. Like, just to be like, I will. Like, like I'm not afraid to do that, but it's not really my thing. And I'm trying to maybe sway people back into like my realm. Like, so it's like sometimes I might make something a little more explicit just for the fucking hell of it. And kind of like as a way to like pull them into like my weird realm. And I think the best way to experience it, it's like okay, maybe some people have only seen that. I doubt it though. Like, most people, they've seen like the more erotic stuff. They've seen my music. They've seen my video, like my artistic videos. They've seen my collage. Like, they've seen everything, and it's like, oh, this is like a real person, and this woman has like thoughts and ideas and emotions that are like coming through in all her art. So she's not just like a piece of flesh that's like getting fucking pounded. Like,
well, I mean, that's not even close. That's not even close to your art.
Close,
I mean, it's like,
but
that's not.
But that's like what like the difference is to me. Like, it's just like porn is just kind of like this animalistic thing, and I'm like, I just want to show that like there's like more to like being a person than just that. And
yeah, of course. Well, it's like it's just, I mean, at the simplest level, it's just like about beauty and aesthetics. I mean, I remember when we had a quick but involved conversation. When you and the fam were giving me a ride to the train. That yeah, it's like we kept just talking about, or you especially were talking about just beauty and just even the word aesthetic. It seems like that should be really obvious in art because that's like the point of art from day one, year zero. But you seem to, and I am sympathetic and agree with you, but you were more like articulating it and going with it of saying that there is, in a way, the art world now like doesn't even value the concept of beauty, quote unquote, capital B, or aesthetics, or like you felt that had been kind of lost,
It's just
I don't
part
know,
of the
in, like,
bigger
modern art world.
it's part of the bigger picture of tearing everything the fuck down. And I'm just not doing it. I'm not participating in that. Like, I am forging ahead with like perpetuating beauty because I'd rather spend my life like making beautiful things, contributing to like positivity and inspiring other people to create themselves than to be, making like period blood art.
Right. I mean, that's sort of what I'm. Yeah, like right, like period blood art. It's kind of like, right. It's ugly as critique, and it's questioning, and it's like tearing down. But
the first person that did it, it's like, okay, yeah, okay, that's edgy. One person did it. Now every fucking person, like every woman is doing this, and it's just like, okay, enough. Okay, we get it. Yeah. Like you have your period. Like, right. Good for you.
But I wonder if in your work, like something like that, like you might. Be able to, not that you necessarily want to, but do something with period blood or something that could be beautiful, or like the intention could be to aspire to beauty rather than just to, critique things with ugliness or something like that.
I've had, some works that like I think allude to like the feminine cycle, and maybe I do it in a way that's like not like slathering myself in period blood, but it's like maybe a figure of a woman, and then it's like the moon cycles might be around her because for a lot of women, like their cycles do connect with the moon cycles, and so it's like a reference to that. So it's like I'm referring to like this process of menstruation that's like a huge part of being a woman. Like, it is a big part of my life, like my biology, and it's, like pregnancy and like all that. It's like part of like who I am, and has affected me. But I try to work it into my art in a way that's like beautiful.
Yeah.
Like,
well, this is the thing, it's like we were talking about like unchanging essences, and this sort of like in a lot of circles, it's unfashionable to even be into this idea of unchanging eternal substance or values or whatever. So it's like if you're talking about beauty, or, you said the feminine, I saw you've seen like the divine feminine, that's something that's like is really kind of like timeless. But, if you say that now, it ends up being like, what's so like you're being essentialist, so what, so you're patriarchal, so what, so that's like, does that disrespect trans people, like all these kind of things, which I don't think that necessarily means any of that necessarily, but people don't say divine feminine as much,
right? Like, it doesn't mean any of that, but I can see like how someone could critique my work that way. Like, I'm aware of how it could be perceived. And I'm just like, I'm not going to let anyone stop me. Like, I am going to do whatever the fuck I want to do, and I'm not letting anyone stop me. Like, you will have to kill me. Like, seriously, like, I am not stopping, and I'm not jumping on a bandwagon because it's fashionable or whatever. Like, I'm just not doing it. I have a vision, and I am following through with it. And I am not stopping for anyone. So like, if you want to like, walk the path, alongside me, I'm open to like people, coming with me on this. But I don't necessarily want people to like follow me blindly into this. But it's like, we can like go parallel with each other in this journey, and, not behind me, but like beside me. And we can move forward to like creating beautiful things, because I do think
Yeah.
that like beauty will win. Like it just will, because it's found in nature, and the simplest things are beautiful. Like
Well, yeah. Sorry. No.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I like and sort of relate to the way that, I don't know, you're like, you're not really like you're into nature, the idea of nature and the fact of nature, and aspiring to beauty as like, you know, unchanging essence, higher things that you aspire to. But you're also not like allergic to the idea of like critique. I mean, you're not calling your work critique or critical work, but the idea of moving forward, the idea that you can even move forward or make the world a better place, you know, like you're not just like, oh, things are what they are and I'm just a humble servant of God, whatever. Like you do believe in human beings working toward better things, but that those the better world will also be in accordance with higher.
Well, it's like, okay, so I see things in a cycle, but it's almost more like a spiral. So it's like things are like coming around, but then they're like going up to the next level, and then around again up to the next level. And that's how I sort of like see us like human beings, like going through time. It's like we have all of these cycles like in nature, in, you know, the human lifespan, whatever, like the seasons, everything is a cycle. And it's like, but I see it like also progressing. Like it's also, it's not just moving around in this one direction around, it's also moving forward. And I do think that like some of my work is critical of like, you know, about things in the modern world or like current events or whatever, but I try to do it in a way that's like timeless, where it's like this could be applied to like something else, and I try to let it be open to interpretation.
Yeah, totally. Because I'm just, it's like, just as far as like your like vibe, I don't know, you're definitely like, you're not a trad wife, you know, like that's definitely not your vibe, like, you know, like reactionary trad wife, you know, like so that's, yeah, you know, because a lot of people, you know, I'm saying, you know, like, you know, you know as well as I do, just online, the sort of ecology, sort of current ecology of ideas, you know, like a lot of the people who are just like, we've lost touch with beauty, we've lost touch with the eternal, we've lost touch with the divine feminine. A lot of the time that often does slip into like, so get back in the fucking kitchen and just fucking bake some cake. You know what I mean? It can go there. So it's just cool how you're like not, you know, you're like reconciling these things in a way that I can personally relate to a lot. I think a lot of people can get on board with how you're negotiating those problems or whatever, you know.
I don't know if I had said it to you in that car ride, but I like sometimes will say this about myself, where it's like I'm too degenerate for the right, but too traditional for the left. So I'm like sort of like I'm like nowhere. Like I'm just like floating in space, and it's like, but like that is like right there at the heart of like what I think is like my greatest accomplishment as an artist, because I'm like, people from all walks of life have been attracted or inspired by my work. It's not just like one type of person. People from all walks of life, all different types of people can find something in my work. And I'm like, that I really like think people need to like start getting on board with people they don't like to like move forward. Like it's just never going to happen. If it's like we live in this really polarized world, like we're never going to move forward. So like if I can like get people to like kind of feel like maybe we can like join forces on like one thing and move forward, that's like that's massive progress to me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, too traditional for the left, too degenerate for the right. Sometimes I feel like I'm just too like chill for the right. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like those dudes who are just like, what has happened to the Western sculpture? I'm just like, it's like, dude, no, you have no chill. Like, there's just no fucking chill with these fucking like worked up reactionary cats. But like, yeah. Oh, do you fuck with you know Nina Power at all? You know
her I do. I know who she is.
That seemed, I don't know. Seemed like not totally off base with your kind of, you know, it's like feminism, like, but there's some sense of the eternal, there's some sense of essentialism without being dogmatic.
I think we're like, you know, kind of like cut from the same cloth. Like there's you know, some parallels, and maybe how we see the world.
Yeah, like she's big on like go outside. She's big
Yeah.
on she's big on like, the feminine. The feminine is a thing. It's beautiful. Beauty is good. Go outside. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
based, that's not like that's not crazy. That's not crazy talk. It's
I
not
tell people all the
crazy
time, like, just go outside and like you can enjoy nature even if you live in a city. Like, every city has a park.
Yeah.
Every city has a park, or you have like your rooftop, or just open your freaking window and like look at the sky. Like, that's nature. If that's the only like nature you have access to, then look at the sky. Like, you can
Yeah.
experience like that connection. Like, just watch the clouds go by just for
Yeah.
like a
No,
few
totally.
minutes, like every day. And I watched this documentary, or it was like a travel show about this village in Japan, and I wish I could remember the name of the village because it was really amazing. I wrote it down somewhere, but there's a building ordinance in the city or this village that you can't build in a way that would block your neighbor's view of the moon. So every
that's nice.
person has a view of the moon from their house, and I'm just like, we need to like do that.
That's
Here.
fucking that's
Like-
nice. Yeah, it's like aesthetic communism. It's like everyone gets
Yeah, like
everyone needs to have that resource,
I just
like of
feel
looking
like
at the moon,
it connects you to like the passage of time, or like, I don't know, like I like just like gazing at the moon. Like, there's something peaceful and nice about it, and it's fascinating. Like, I just
It's
started
eternal. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Can't fuck with the moon. You can go up and step all over it, plant flags, but you can't fuck with the moon.
I just like simple things, like, and those things, like the best things in life. So like nature, sex, like, the best food for you to eat is the food that's like naturally occurring. Like, those things like are free or just in nature. Like, you don't have to pay to like see the moon. It's only a freaking matter of
Not
time
yet.
until oh my god. Like,
Yeah. It's like firewall, fucking moon fire, like paywall is the word,
yeah.
It's like the
But
moon.
it's just like, these are the best things. Like, like so part of like why I've always sort of had this relationship with nature, and it has a lot to do with like my grandpa's house upstate and my relationship with my grandpa. But it also was just like, I was always broke. Like, I didn't have money to like go out and like or travel. Like, people like go to like, cities all over the world. And like, I'm like, I can't afford that shit. So like, what I do for fun is like walk around in the woods because it's free. Like, or it's usually free. Sometimes you have to pay for parking in some places, and like, if it helps like keep it undeveloped, then it's $5 well spent. But
no, for real. So I don't actually, we don't have, this could be a whole tangent, or it could be a 3-word answer that you give, but let's go with it. Jim Winters asks, thoughts on Abramovich. I don't even know.
Just no. Just a big fucking no.
I had a feeling you were not gonna be like riding hard
just
for,
a big
Marina.
fucking no. Yeah, next question.
Next question. There it is. No, because I like to give, I like to interact, and I want. That's a reasonable question, Jim.
I
like the answer.
I will expand a little bit. Like, I feel like sometimes people will compare me to her, like, and it's not that it's sometimes like, or they're like, you must like her, like you, and I'm like, no, I don't. Like, there's just something about her that I think that she's like, has a lot of work, and I respect like the volume of her work, and like, on that level I can respect her, but I just like don't like what she does. I just don't like her.
An unsavory vibe.
Yeah, because it's kind of like not I feel like she's sort of the proponent of this like unbeauty.
Right.
She's sort of like the forebearer of that. She sort of leads the way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this sounds ignorant or if I'm going to lose a follower or two on this, but like, I've never seen quote unquote performance art that even registered as like good to me, like
Yeah,
at all.
okay,
I
wait.
mean, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but like I've never been like moved by. I mean, dance, yes, and I mean,
Yeah, okay.
but
I'm with you 100%. Like I feel like dance, yeah. It's I do like dance and but
yeah,
performance art, I think maybe part of the problem is that just a lot of this contemporary shit is just like shock value garbage and it's
right,
not really like trying to get to like something. It's not really like trying to like connect with like the emotions of the audience. It's just kind of like I'm naked on stage, like like
yeah.
pouring glitter all over myself and like and it's like I feel like every performance art that I've seen is like that. It's like
Yeah, why is it
it'll
never
be
subtle or like
it's never
whatever? Yeah,
subtle. It's like seriously, it'll be like some naked chick like humping an inflatable doll in like a room full of people, and it's just like people are
yeah,
like so serious, like,
right. It's
and I'm just
it's
like,
it. Right.
this
It's like
is weird.
it's like hypersexual, but it's not erotica or pornography. It's
No, it's
just
just
this
like
yelling, like yelling with your body and shit. I
it's
don't know.
really bad, like really
Yeah.
bad. And like that was actually like something real, like the humping of the inflatable doll. Like that was a real performance. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's just
yeah, yeah.
like I'm scared. like,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'd love
like
to be proved wrong. I'd love to be taken to some kind of performance art thing where I'm like, oh shit, that was like as
well,
good
okay,
as fucking Beethoven's, or
do
whatever.
you
I don't know.
know the like wild tourist people? They're like
Wild Taurus? No.
yeah, they're from Brooklyn. And they have this very like Dionysian chaotic performance and like they are kind of onto something. Like I feel like they really do get a lot of like the crowd involved. So like because of that element of like their performance, it actually is kind of cool and I like what they do.
Okay, this I'm interested in this. Wild Taurus, like as in the
Yeah.
bull. Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
well, Taurus, like the
T.
shape Taurus.
Okay, okay. Word. All
But
right,
yeah, like
yeah,
they have, like they make like some cool costumes and these
yeah.
cool like props and I think that like they have this very like Dionysian thing and it's a lot of like I feel like the crowd involvement element is really cool.
Word. Yeah, I should check that out. I'm going so like more Apollo though lately. Like I did Dionysus almost fucking killed me enough. I just I'm going full Apollo. Proxys says performance art example. Search interior semiotics on YouTube. Do you know
Okay.
this?
I
Do you know?
don't.
Do you know? Okay, I'll check it out.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think there's like cool stuff out there. Like, there's also this guy Max Maks, and he like makes these like cool masks, and I don't know like what's happening, but like they'll trigger. He has like props that like trigger sound, and it's his performances are actually really interesting. And what's sort of like endearing about his performance is before it begins, he's just like, sometimes this makes people really uncomfortable. So like, if you want to leave, I'm not offended. And I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
I really like thought his thing was like cool. Like, so he's like another one, like he's based in Brooklyn. And I liked what he
All
was
right.
about. Like
Max.
he,
Yeah. See, this is good to.
yeah.
Of course,
Yeah, like there's some cool people out there, but I
Yeah.
feel
See,
like
I love being proved wrong.
on the whole, like but it's like when I feel like I don't know, just too often people do this like weird shock value shit. Like and
Yeah.
it's like involves like just running around naked and like screaming and the period blood and
That's my stereotype of performance art for
yeah,
sure.
that's
Yeah.
like what because
Yeah.
I see it all the time. Like I just see it so
Yeah.
much and I'm
People
just
still
like
doing it. Yeah. It's I think about this like just the idea of transgression. It's like obviously the more transgressive art that gets made, nothing is transgressive anymore, et cetera, et cetera. But then it's like I also think about like because I'm really into Bataille and it's like as I'm sure you are too. We talked about and it's sort of like with his point of view, or there's this vibe of like transgression, but in this eternal, timeless way where it's like, okay, we're not trying to be transgressive in order to like take you to some next level that you never thought of, but just that there are certain things that are always transgressive, like death is transgressive, like inherently, and death's never going away, and it's always going to be a transgression, right? And like,
Right.
kind of same with sex, or not sex, but eroticism. You know, to Bataille, like eroticism is inherently this transgression, going beyond the normal. You know, so I kind of like that idea of transgression in art,
Well,
where it's not like, ooh, you never thought of this. It's like, this is always transgressive. Every culture we do this. You know.
I mean, there's some things that will like always be taboo, like like something like incest, like that's taboo and it's taboo for a reason, like it's
Yes,
like
yes.
let's keep
Well,
that,
yeah.
like
Well, Bataille
let's
talks
not
about
look
that.
at right.
Yeah, but
um
although the reasons that he says it's taboo are like not what you'd think, because it's all about tribal kinships and exogamy and trading women, and I don't know. Anyway, yeah, but
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 i
yes, yeah,
i kind of think, like, I consider myself, I guess sometimes I would say that I'm making transgressive art, but I'm like, to me, I'm like the pendulum swinging the other way. Like, I feel like the real transgression is to make it beautiful. Like,
yes,
the norm is just the ugly shit. So like,
yes.
you're not really transgressing anything.
Yes, yes,
Like,
yes. Well, yeah. Well, this is kind of what I'm saying. Like that's like, and like the sacred. You know, that's like Bataille's vibe is like the sacred is inherently a transgression. It doesn't have to be some ritualized incest. It doesn't have to be like cutting a 9-year-old's head off or something.
right.
But it does mean like going beyond the normal. So beauty is going beyond the norm. Well, it kind of is. The art is going beyond the norm and transgressing. Just right. It doesn't have to be transgressing social norms, but transgressing the everyday. And
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, I'm just not that kind of artist. Like, sometimes, like, you'll be like, oh, you're a transgressive artist, so like you'll probably like this story that I wrote, and it's just like, about like fucking tearing someone to shreds. Like, it's about like murdering someone and tearing them to shreds, and I'm just like, why the fuck would you think I like this? Like, I don't like
I know.
this. Like,
Yeah, well, it's not beautiful.
Enough people just die from natural causes or disease. Like, I don't need you to murder anyone to like to like experience death. Like, I'm not interested in murder. Like,
yeah. I don't. I mean, some I don't know. Some artists, like filmmakers. I mean, I definitely can always get behind David Lynch just as beauty. Like, there's a lot of violence in there, but it's totally aesthetic and beautiful. Then I watch Tarantino. And I'm like, honestly, this is not beautiful. This is fucking just desensitized, violent shit. I'm like not really into it,
Right.
But
like, sometimes there's like maybe a little like allusion to violence in my work, just because it's part of the human experience. Like, brutality, violence, war. Like, it's called being human, and that's just not going away. Like, so it's like I do work that in, but it's like, it's just part of the bigger picture of being human, and that's the picture I'm trying to paint. Like, that there's just like, we have to accept that these things are just always going to be there, and like, you try to deal with them, you try to minimize them, but I don't glorify them, and I don't like to spend too much time thinking about them. Like, I just don't like to think about gory shit. Like,
yeah. Well, it becomes pornographic. Another. But yeah, even just talking about human nature. Use the word human nature. See, I use that word. That to me is very reasonable. Also, my parents are psychotherapists, so the idea of human nature is like a very reasonable thing to want to grapple with. A lot of people don't even really like that idea now. Like, it's like that's considered naive or reactionary or old-fashioned or something. I'm like, dude, that there's a way there's stuff in people that you can eternally look at. I mean, it's not
what?
like,
it's like, you can deny it all you want, but human nature will persist and just prove you wrong eventually. So it's like, people they haven't really changed that much. Like, I don't think we're really any less savage than we've always been. Like, we just like, live in nicer houses. Like,
well, that's the thing. Technology and capital have accelerated, but human biology has not really.
Yeah, like we
that
still kill
much.
people all
I
the
mean,
time. Like,
yeah.
for
So
nothing.
yeah,
For nothing.
yeah.
Like,
That's so that's it's like whatever. However, we're like. I mean, yeah. I feel like socially we're trying to like evolve and change to keep pace with like technological and economic demands that it demand us to change, but it's like we're just not biologically, you can't evolve that fast biologically, so we're still dealing with the organ that makes classic human nature, but we're like anyway, yeah.
it just is how it is. Like, I can't explain it. I don't know why. I'm never going to know why it's that way. It just is that way. And I accept that. Like, I just don't think that anyone's going to try. No one's ever going to try to change it. And I don't know if I'd want to. Like, that's what all these like dystopian novels that everyone's like obsessed with. That's what like they're all about. Like Brave New World, Logan's Run, like all these things. It's like they've somehow eliminated like, you know, the violence and war, and everyone just lives this like fucking, it's actually a shitty existence. Like their utopia sucks. Like it's, you know, it's like you gotta kind of take the bad shit to get the good shit that we have, because it's like then you're just like a fucking rat in a cage.
Yeah, I mean, I view a lot of the technology stuff as just this like externalization of like certain like actually violent, those supposedly rational but actually like hellish aspect of human nature just crystallized outside. Nico F says, ask, for what reason is incest taboo? I'm not qualified to go down the whole rabbit hole with that, but Bataille's book Erotism gets deep on that, so that's one to read. And then Nick Land has one of his earliest essays, Kant and the Prohibition of Incest, I think it's called. You fuck with either of those?
Yeah, no, I know. With your books, yeah, the books that you're mentioning, yes.
Yeah.
Just
that's what I'm saying. I don't mean do you fuck with incest. I mean those.
I just
books.
don't want people to cut this shit up later and you know whatever. But if this person's like into that, go for it.
Wait. How do you mean? No. I don't know Nico. No, I don't think he was asking like why is incest Were you asking that, bro? No.
I don't know.
No, I don't. Yeah,
that's how I took the question. Like,
maybe
why? What's wrong with it? It's just like I don't know, man.
Oh man, maybe.
If you don't know the answer to that, then like
YouTube's creepy as fuck. Well, no, but I know I didn't take it though as him being like, well, what's the problem? No, because. I don't think it's actually completely obvious why incest is taboo. I mean, it's obvious to us because it's just like this visceral, like, ugh, like how could you? But but I mean, the way Bataille talks about it and the way Land talks about it through Bataille, like that there are actual like like social, economic reasons between tribes,
right?
That like it's not just like, oh, it's visceral disgust. It's that like, I mean, in a dark way that like that's actually not like an ingrained. That actually incest is not, that we're not hardwired to not do incest. That we're actually, that actually is a learned social thing.
Yeah, like I think
people, that has functions, you know, yeah.
Because of like kind of unfortunately trial and error figured out. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see what we got here. I think we've gotten to like most of the, well, there are always some good comments that like, you know, we could go off on, but like you can't get to every single one. Yeah. I don't know. How you feeling, Joan? You feeling like I mean, I'm sure we could go on for hours and hours, but I'm pretty into an hour and 50. You feeling it?
Yeah. This was good.
Yeah, this is great. Unless, is there anything we didn't get to, or like, I mean, is there anything to plug? You know, I mean, are you have anything that people should be on the lookout for in the near future?
Well, yeah. So I think that it's sort of in line with just like I think I spend too much time on looking at screens. I think pretty soon I'm gonna just start like releasing a lot of my art as like zines. I used to do like these little like very DIY zines, But I think this time around, I'm going to like actually get them printed and be art. I think I might like republish my poetry book, Death is Coming, as a zine. So people can look out for
Sick.
that probably in September. Like I'm kind of just pulling everything together now, and I just like
Yeah.
want to kind of get offline a little bit, and I think other people kind of do too. Maybe we're all sick of it, and I
Yeah.
think it's nice. Like people like when I have like physical things, so it will be an offering.
That's awesome. Yeah, people do zines. I wasn't really totally aware of that. I kind of assumed it had died, but then I'm starting to
Oh no, I've
get up
been
on artists and writers. Absolutely, writers doing
no,
chapbooks and zines and stuff.
it's
Yeah.
still a thing. Like I haven't made one in a while, but like for years and years, like that was like what I was doing. Like I was just making these like shitty little zines, and I sold them on Etsy. And usually what I would do is like, so that was like the Whip Angels phase. So I'd make a little art zine, and then I'd throw in like a download code for like an EP that like went with the theme of the zine.
Great
So
idea.
that was like my thing for a while. And then I don't know, I made one. The last zine I made like it's almost 2 years ago when I first started Temple of Saturn. I like just made a little zine and like a button set that I sold on Bandcamp.
That's great. Yeah, no, artifacts. They make it special, physical realm, getting sent to your house. So yeah, everyone absolutely look out for that, even if Joan is like withdraws a little bit from online, you'll hear about it on Joan's Twitter and other places. Word. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, I'm so psyched you came by. This is one of my favorites so far. We really got into some shit. And yeah, glad to hear you're like utterly unfazed by Corona, basically, or not unfazed, but that it's
No, I mean
it's not fucking your life up at all.
This is like I feel like I'm throughout my life, my adult life, I've just been like feel unprepared for like everything. Like I just, like in terms of like being an adult, like I always feel like I'm like 10 steps behind. I'm like, this is the first time that I was prepared. Like,
yes.
I was just like, this is already my lifestyle. I'm prepared for the first time. Like everyone's losing their shit. And I'm just like, just another day in Joan Pope world.
Yeah. No, it's motivating to hear. It's awesome. Cool, Joan. I don't know. Be in touch about anything and everything, right? Got to send me. I'll buy. I definitely buy those zines when those come out for sure.
Cool.
We'll be in touch. Awesome, Joan.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. There it is, Joan Pope, guys. Good comments this time too. It wasn't. I didn't. I'm glad to not have like edgy, weird, like creep show shit. Although incest did become a topic, but I think our discussing incest was very rigorous, sensitive, very humane. Yeah. I feel like there was something I wanted to say at the end of this. Oh, I guess this is a weird thing, but just I would like to say, forgive me if sometimes I don't know who you are on this, but like sometimes like I'm friends with people. Sometimes I'm like mutuals with people on Twitter, or like I know who you are on Twitter, but then they have different names here. So I'm like, I'll like interact with you like I don't know who you are, but I actually like do know who you are. It's just a different name. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't keep up on everyone. Nico F shuts it down. No, Nico kept it real with the incest, man. Shit's taboo for a reason, guys. You heard it here, not first. You heard it here for the millionth time. Anyway, yeah, as far as stuff coming up, I've got a couple people in the queue for live streams, but they're not totally confirmed, and I don't want to, I don't want to announce if they're not totally confirmed. But there's some good shit coming up. You guys are gonna be psyched. All right, thanks everyone for coming, and check this out, archived, and it'll be up in perpetuity. All right, have a good one, everyone. Peace.